Hi everyone, I'm Prat.
And I'm Zainab, and we're here in Bangkok, Thailand today to answer some of the questions for Reality of Fate Asia Pacific's campaign on Stop the Cuts.
So Raf from Reality of 8 has brought us to this restaurant, and we're going to go inside, have some delicious food and drinks, and talk a little bit about austerity and how it can be reimagined in today's world. So come with us. Hi everyone, so I'm Prarthana from the Asian Forum for Human Rights and Development, also known as Forum Asia, and I lead the Business and Human Rights program at Forum Asia.
Hi, my name is Zainab Shumail. I work with the Asia Pacific Forum on Women Law and Development, and I'm the coordinator for its Crisis and Women's Human Rights Initiative.
So I guess since this is the first time we're officially meeting each other, it's a chance to sort of get to know each other, the work that we do and the advocacy we engage in. So we're going to be given some flashcards by Ralph and we get to know each other better.
So Prarthana, can you tell me about your organization and your role in it? What are your focus, advocacy, and your organization's priorities?
Sure. So we're a regional membership-based human rights organization, and we have 86 members in 23 countries in Asia. More broadly, our work is around the protection of human rights defenders, fundamental freedoms, sustainable development. With the Business and Human Rights program specifically, we work on issues around corporate accountability, environmental rights, bank investments, and harmful development projects. One of the aspects of that is around economic, social, and cultural rights, and that's where austerity comes in, because we're seeing how governments all over the region are using social security excuse and to pay back loans and to cut some of the funding that's available for basic public goods. And we also advocate for retaining economic, social, and cultural rights in the work that we do. So that's a little bit about me and the organization.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so I will do the same about APWLD and my work in it. So APWLD is also a membership network-based organization. We have about 265 members, both organizations and individuals from the Asia Pacific region. And these are all feminist activists, and what we work together on is essentially feminist development justice and women's human rights. And there are various ways that we do it. It is through capacity building of ourselves, of our members, and developing knowledge resources for political education, and then using them for advocacy at national, regional, global levels, and then also fostering movement building, because we feel like that is extremely crucial for, working towards development justice in the region. So that's what we do, and Okay. All right. So we'll wrap up this segment. I think you should read out this question. And
there's one more.
This one, yeah.
Tell us one favorite thing you like about where you're from. The food. I mean, South Asian
I would
food.
also say.
Is there anything better than South Asian food?
Honestly, I think if you ask me things that I dislike about my country, I think I would be more prompt. I would be more prompt in answering. But I think if you ask me what things that I like, food, clothes, parts of culture that I love, some parts that I don't, not love very much. So these things.
Yeah, the food is unbeatable. So that's a very easy answer, and I'm a complete foodie. So.
Okay, good.
Okay.
For our next round, it's called the Austerity Bowl. This is the Austerity Bowl. And what we are going to be doing is that we are going to be picking up questions from here one by one. We'll try and answer as many as possible to discuss what austerity is and just unpack the concept a little bit more in conversation. So would you like to
Okay,
the question?
Sure. It's like a game show. I love it. Okay. So do you believe that borrowing from international financial institutions such as the IMF, World Bank, Asian Development Bank, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development helps or harms borrowing countries, and why?
Okay, so I think borrowing in itself, the practice, if you just conceive of it on face value, there should be nothing wrong with it. But I think if we look at borrowing and the use of debt as a tool, as a political tool to and we're not looking at the debt crisis only in the present moment, right? Like we have to go decades back, look at the post-colonial world order, especially the Asia and the Pacific region, and so we're looking at debt really as a tool to integrate economies into the neoliberal world order, right? So, and that is done through the conditionalities that are associated with the debt burdens that come, right? So it is not only the repayment of debt that is the issue, that is a financial burden, but it is also the conditionalities that accompany these loans that the governments are then asked to or enforced to then implement in their respective countries. And so I think how that sort of like really sets in motion structural changes or structural malfunction, I would say, how it sets up the system for structural malfunction in the long term. I think that is problematic. So borrowing in itself is not a problem, should not be a problem, but if it is having long-term consequences through really just like transforming national economic governance orders, I think that is a problem. The other thing is that these conditionalities then have real life consequences for the people who depend on say social safety nets, right? So if we're talking about austerity, one of the fundamental conditionality is the fiscal consolidation, right? And so when we talk about fiscal consolidation, there's cuts to public spending, and there is increased taxation, such as through increasing consumption taxes, etc., reducing subsidies. So all of that, in terms of its impacts on people, I think would make me say that it is more harmful than beneficial. Okay, next question. What do you feel about the reliance on the private sector to provide our national social services? I think you're the best person to take this on. Go for it.
I mean, I could go on for hours, like you said, about how problematic it is, but I think essentially shifting the responsibility from government to the private sector is a way of shifting accountability and responsibility, because the government, in the way that it is originally intended to be, is supposed to provide services, goods for the public, whether that's education, healthcare, housing. That is supposed to be the government's responsibility, and historically it has been the government that has had the accountability embedded within when that doesn't happen. But when you start bringing in the private sector, there is a level of opaqueness that is then created, because if you start outsourcing healthcare, for example, to the private sector, what I've seen happen in India is that private healthcare is now so inaccessible. Like there isn't a ceiling that these private healthcare institutions have, so they could charge like thousands and thousands of dollars for the most basic service, and there is like 0.1% of the population that could potentially afford that. So what you're also doing is by privatizing things like education and healthcare, you're creating this competitiveness and you're creating this really unhealthy, profit-driven, capitalistic environment where the common person has no choice. Then the government hospitals automatically get poorer and have worse services. So privatization, I think, is an excellent way of escaping accountability, and escaping any kind of blame. And then when it finally goes into the private sector's hands, there is so much opaqueness that there is no way that when your rights are violated, when there is extremely expensive tests or extremely expensive school admission fees, there isn't any accountability that the private sector we can demand from the private sector, because there isn't systems for remedy, systems for access to justice. So it's creating an environment where inequality then becomes so obvious, and that class difference within society becomes so high that
keep perpetuating.
Exactly. So I think it is Unfortunately, it used to be less prominent that everything becoming privatized, but now railways are becoming privatized. Everything is becoming privatized. So then at what point do we say then what is the government doing? Is
Yeah.
it just putting us in more debt
Right.
by borrowing unsustainably? Like, at one point we need to bring it back to the core purpose of the government, I think. What sectors do you think are the most affected when budgets are reduced?
Yeah, I think the public sectors, I would say, the essential public services that we're talking about: education, health, housing, water and sanitation, etc. So all of these services that the people require for a healthy, happy, dignified life. Just the very tenets of human rights. I think all of these sectors are largely impacted. The first to be impacted through austerity.
Yeah, I mean, education, health, I guess social protection, welfare, and government subsidies and other policies. Yeah, I agree.
Social safety nets.
Now that we've spoken, sorry, again. So now that we've spoken a little bit about like our opinion on governments and privatization and austerity, we could play a quick game where each one of us will give each other a prompt, and then we have to just say whether this should be funded or this should be cut. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay.
Easy.
Easy?
Good and easy.
And quick.
And quick. Okay, really. So no explanations, I guess, needed.
Okay. Yeah.
Should I ask first? Okay. Subsidized housing and healthcare for the elderly. Fun.
Okay. Pension program for the elderly.
Fun. Livelihood assistance for returning migrant workers and their families.
Fun. Cultural land rights protection for indigenous people.
Oh, fun. Accessible reproductive health and care for women.
Fun. Okay. Assistive devices for persons with disabilities.
Fun. Police, military salary and enhanced surveillance equipment.
Cut. Fuel subsidy for fisher folks.
Fun. Scholarships for the youth.
Fun. Community-based mental health programs for children and youth.
Oh, fun.
Okay.
Purchase of new military equipment and warships.
Cut. Seed and fertilizer support for farmers.
Fun. Debt servicing.
Cut. Anti-discrimination programs for LGBTQIA+ community.
Oh, fun. Wages of workers.
Tax breaks for corporations and private sector.
No way. Cut.
Okay.
That was fun.
Yes, fun
Okay.
and quick. Okay, so next up we have what is called a bonus round, the People's Purse. And for this bonus round, we're going to be trying the spending generator, which Reality of Fate Asia and Pacific launched last year. And the idea behind the spending generator is that we have a scenario, which is if we could reallocate the military budget to help and fund the services to different sectors. So we're going to play it today, and for our audience to have a sneak peek of this game.
And I have to say that I did try the game before, and it's really cool.
Okay.
So hats off to Reality of Asia Pacific for creating it.
And for giving us the illusion of having
Control.
of where our money goes. What do we do with it? Okay.
Oh, this is fun. Okay. Should I type my name?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so the first page, I guess, is we've been invited to reimagine the world that is free from wars and inequalities, and a world that respects people's rights and supports the development of all. That's a nice world to imagine.
Yes. So in 2024, the Asia Pacific region's total military spending reached $956 billion US. This money was used to fund wars, oppression and violence. If you are tasked to rechannel this money to support people's development, how would you do it? Let's find out.
Okay. I wish we had this much power. This would be so cool. Okay, so now we're supposed to pick our
So our
sub-region.
sub-region is South Asia.
South Asia.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Let's go for it.
Oh.
Ooh, wow.
Okay. So we have, I don't even know how many zeros.
102 billion
Is that
US
102 billion
Yeah,
dollars?
102 billion US dollars.
I never thought I'd have so much money.
Okay, let's budget this.
So the categories are farmers, 50 migrants, older persons, and LGBTQ plus people.
Okay.
So I guess we choose one each that we would like to prioritize.
Yeah. Let's prioritize maybe a couple major sectors,
Sure.
and then okay.
So I guess we could also, in terms of the budget, we can give them from 5% to 25%
Yes.
of the total. Okay. So I would say maybe indigenous people as the first.
Yeah. Indigenous peoples, workers, women, and
Oh, that's tough.
oh my god,
Farmers maybe? Since
oh my god, I don't want to. Okay, so
maybe it's a disclaimer is this is not a reflection of who we think
Yeah.
deserves it.
give us more money.
If only. So I
Okay,
guess
so
if we
okay, so it shows prompts into how this money could be used. So for farmers, this amount could establish and maintain 950,000 community seed banks in Bangladesh, India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka.
Oh, wow,
Okay. Okay, so for indigenous people, we do
15? Okay, so did you know that this amount could aid millions of indigenous people in South Asia to deal with the impacts of communal and cross-border conflicts, climate disaster, and development aggression? Okay.
okay, great. So we have about 76 billion left.
So we've given 10% to farmers, 15% to indigenous people,
Those people, and to then
women
we-
and workers, right?
women and workers. Yeah,
Oh.
10%.
Yeah, that sounds. What's the prompt for workers?
Minimum wages by $100 per month for 8.5 million workers, bringing incomes closer to or above national per capita levels in Nepal and Pakistan. Okay.
wow, okay.
Okay. Great.
So we have
And so the
66.
same.
Oh,
So for a price of $15, this amount could provide monthly dignity kits to 11.3 million women in South Asia over the next 5 years. Not bad.
maybe then we can increase to 15 since we have
15?
money left.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay. And what about farmers? Maybe 15 as well.
Okay.
Oh, we still have money. Oh, should we go to 25 or do we?
Let's look at the other categories and then see the remaining we can
Okay.
redistribute.
Okay.
Yeah. So youth and children.
Okay, that's it. We have no more money.
Oh wait. Okay. Wow. Okay. We have to redistribute now.
But I don't know if we should cover all or we should cover only a few.
Okay. Okay. So apologies to the categories that we've not been able to cover, but
Yeah,
yeah, I think
this seems good. We can try and find more money later to give to the categories that we haven't
Okay,
covered. But I guess we
but-
can proceed for now.
yeah, okay, sure.
Okay.
But just a disclaimer that I really want to allocate some budget to the other categories.
Absolutely,
also.
absolutely. I'm sorry. Maybe this is how governments
Yeah. Well,
feel. Okay.
agriculture. Okay, so we assign most of our budget to the agriculture sector. Way to go for empowering the farmers who feed South Asia.
So, I mean, overall, I think we backed farmers, indigenous people, workers, women, and persons with disabilities.
okay, that's a good
So it
feeling.
says that we respect heritage, land, and identity. We boosted workers so that they get fair wages and safe workplaces. And we invested in women's empowerment so that they can have equal opportunity in homes, workplaces, and parliaments. Okay. Good job.
Okay.
Okay, this is very cool, the analysis.
Yeah.
I mean, I encourage everyone to check this out because this is a very cool way of seeing how these decisions are made and putting yourself in that scenario and how you would react.
Yeah, and also envisioning, the alternative world that we all are working towards. So, yeah, even if through a simulation, it is a step forward.
Yeah, gamification seems to be the way forward,
Yeah.
so why not? So yeah, if you're interested in checking out more of Forum Asia's work, please visit our website, www.forum-asia.org. And if you'd like to get to know more about the research, capacity building and advocacy work that we do at the national level, at the ASEAN level and at the international level, you can also write to us at bhr@forum-asia.org. And we do a lot of research around corporate accountability, mining, labor rights. So we'd be happy to collaborate with you if you're interested in exploring the ways in which we can strengthen the rights and protections of workers, of communities, of human rights defenders so that their voices can be amplified in decision-making spaces. So reach out to us through our social media as well, on Twitter, X, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn.
Thanks. Likewise, you can look APWLD on all of our socials, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and also, of course, our website, apwld.org, to learn more about our work and all of the wide-ranging aspects of development justice that we work on. This includes climate justice, food sovereignty, the debt crisis, militarism, trade, etc. So if any of these areas interest you, please feel free to explore more, and please feel free to share it further, because the more we know about these things, the more control we have in terms of having a say in issues that impact our lives on a daily basis. So yeah.
So I guess together, let's say yes to social services,
Yes to communities,
and no to unnecessary cuts.
let's stop the cuts and end austerity
austerity
in Asia Pacific.